Yes.
Okay, very good. Because correct me, because I sure do correct people when they don't pronounce my name correctly. Okay, we're up in 15, 10, 5, 3, 2. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It is a joy to be with you. Of course, Minneapolis is at the center of the story, and so many other issues are emanating from Minneapolis. Really, we're in the 250th anniversary of the existence of the Republic. And Benjamin Franklin was asked on his way out of the convention, the Constitutional Convention, what kind of government have you given us? He said, a republic if you can keep it. We're struggling with that right now. We're struggling with a lot of things. We're struggling with national identity. Who is an American? What makes an American? But foundational to the American story is the Black American story. It's the indigenous story. And within those stories, you're hearing a lot of people who are part of those communities who are looking to figure out how much of part of the communities they are. There are African Americans who married, intermarried, they had children with indigenous people, and their descendants are trying to uh, have ownership, lay claim to their familial legacies. And within the Black community, we have seen really since the Obama presidency, as I've seen it, it's something that we have talked about, but it seems like it intensified after 2008. Just who is an African American? And is there a difference between an African American and a Black American? Those who are descended from Black Americans, a good many falsehoods are told to everybody who comes to the United States about Black people. Because Black people keep everybody else with a pathway to whiteness, with a pathway to legitimacy, if you will. And you've seen Black people push back against that. And so it's very, very interesting, when and Black people are always looking for allies. And now Black people, like many other communities, are becoming insular, more insular, although we are still open to coalition. But the question has always been, it's a song, Boya Farah, that was sung during the 50s and 60s when people would march. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? People always want to know that. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? And so when I heard about this book, America Made Me a Black Man, I was pushed back on my heels because I said, wait a minute, what is he talking about? What does he mean? You know what? I'm going to start this again because I don't want to bury the lead. I want to go right to it. So stay right there. Give me 30 seconds. 20. Yeah. So I want to go right to that. Yeah. Because this book is so profound. I did get the ebook. I hate ebooks, but I wanted to read some of it. And no, because I like to hold the book. 3. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I am Santita Jackson. You can reach me on all of the social media platforms. Look for Santita Jackson and Friends on Facebook. That's the only place where I can get new friends. Oh, everybody keeps going to Santita Jackson. Please go to Santita Jackson and Friends. And please meet me on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Like and subscribe and pass the show along. And support AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. There are only a handful of independent talk radio stations in the country, let alone progressive ones, which this is. This is the voice of progressive Minnesota. And we do need your support. So let's get right to it. America made me a black man. What does Boya Farah, a Somali American, mean? What was his experience? What did he see as he moved through America that he did not understand when he got to America. There has been this tension, a tension within the Black community between foundational Black Americans, Black Americans who are descended from enslaved people, and immigrant Americans, immigrant Black Americans. And the question has been from, I guess it harkens back to the 50s and 60s. You would hear in a lot of these old marches, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Black Americans are always looking for allies, and oftentimes we find ourselves without them. And so it's particularly painful when you see Black immigrants and Black people who've been here not be able to come together. And maybe this book, the title of it, is at the heart of it. America made me a Black man, because I guess it presumes, Boya Farah, that when you got here, you didn't quite understand what the Black experience was. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Anita. I see.
And welcome home. Tell
Thank
me,
you. Thank you.
America made me a Black man. That is an explosive title. What do you mean?
First of all, I appreciate the discussion. God made me Black. I was born Black. I inherited from my parents. I use the word Black as a metaphor for the pain for the 400 years of struggle, the ongoing struggle of Black people in America against racism and acceptance. And when I came into this country from a refugee camp running away from war, I was chased by war from my home country. I was born in Mogadishu.
Mm.
And then I came here as a refugee. And so I just wanted to be American. And I thought, from what I heard of Black people when I was in Africa, that they're in heaven, but they don't want to take advantage of the heaven. It is only then that I become an American. America introduced herself to me. That's when I get to know the real America, which is a different story than what I had in mind. And so the book talks about that metaphor of pain that Black people carry. And the first real teachers that I stated in the book are African Americans, because they are the knowers, the struggles of American people in this country. So they were my real teacher.
Well, let's go back. What had you heard about Black Americans? And mind you, let's just have a very honest and open conversation here, because I think that I think your book is really an instrument of healing.
Mm.
And I think that if we have the honest conversation, this earnest conversation, we can move toward a healing. Because if we can talk about what you had heard, and I think let's just start there, because America is heaven, and the land of opportunity. And you came here, I guess, as an immigrant, and Black people didn't come here as Black Americans did not come here as immigrants. So, what had you heard about Black Americans?
Well, the only access we had in the refugee camp in Somalia, or in Somalia before the war, was access to Hollywood. Hollywood stories tell Black people's story. And the Black people's story is lazy thugs, like a portrayal that is not real when you get to America, when you get to here. But also, likewise, when I came here, I was addicted to Discovery Channel, and even myself, after 30 years of staying in America, I was looking at Africans and an image that's not favorable that I watch from Discovery Channel and other channels that portrays Africans as people that people that depend on aid. So the narrative that coming from here of Black people were negative. The narrative that comes from Africa into America is also negative. And therefore the same people from the same continent, Black people, the narrative does not belong. Each side, the narrative doesn't belong. So each side is looking at each other as if, well, you're bad. No, you're bad. I heard from this. And, so it's the whoever occupies the information occupies your mind, and whoever occupies your mind occupies your space and how you project yourself. And that's what the book does perfectly in terms of bridging the divide.
What don't Black Americans in particular, like you said, the Discovery Channel, because media is so powerful, it does shape the mind. And that's why, with when we had Ebony and Jet, which was Black owned media, John Johnson and Eunice Johnson, who founded the magazine with a loan from his mother, Miss Gertrude Johnson, Mrs. Gertrude Johnson. Um, he called it Ebony because blackness was something that was despised, and jet black was something you did not want to be. That having been said, he made you love blackness. And then when you opened the magazine, you saw all of these uplifting stories and you said, well, wait a minute, I can be that. And you spoke with the great thinkers and the great leaders. They had in depth interviews, beautiful fashions, the foods that we like to eat that were, I don't know, I hate that I used to skip over that part because I wasn't interested in cooking as a child, right? But, but because we don't own the media, like 99% of it, the the information that we get is bad. So what, as you came to the United States and got settled in and you started looking at television and reading the newspaper, what 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 how were Africans portrayed? I mean, what did you say? Wait, that's not the truth.
Well, for example, I've never seen naked Africans when I was in Africa, and I've never seen a lion. I've never seen a zebra. I've never seen a giraffe. Those were the animals of the forest. In the cities,
Mhm.
we didn't get to see that. And so only when I came here and the access that we had to Africa was just tribes that are absolutely, like half naked in the jungle running after animals. And then I've never seen a city like Nairobi, which mimics uh, uh, New York. I never get to see that. So when if you repeat lie again and again, it tends to become reality. It shapes perception. My African American friends, when I was trying to go back to Africa after I finished the book, I wanted to just go, and they were like, what are you gonna say, hyena, giraffe? Really, you're gonna go back to Africa? What's there, man? And I can understand, because when I came to this country, I was saying, why you don't want to go to school? Why you don't advance yourself? You're in heaven. I was overly judgmental. It is only that I get to know after 35 years that is actually I was looking at myself, judging myself, that now I became American, Black American, that I get to have the same. No, really, you're not really American until you get to drive. Until you get your first job. That's when you know the real America that waits every single Black person living in America, whether you're from Somalia, Kenya, African American. If you're Black, they're still going to stop you. They're only going to know you after. That's when you get fired. That's when you get tickets. That's when you become a real American. And after I became a real American, I just didn't want to accept it. So I had to honor the people that I work with, the people that cried in front of me. I had to honor it by writing a book that I can be proud of 100 years from today. That someone like me can be proud of it. That's how I wrote the book. I wanted to make sure 100 years from today, whoever looks like me that reads the book can say, yes.
What was Share some of your experiences. Let's just take them one at a time. Share some of your experiences that made you turn, that made you become a Black man. And
Well,
so, and I guess I would first have to ask you, what were you before you became a Black man? What were you, an immigrant, an African immigrant? How did you see yourself?
Well, before I became American, a real American, I was a son, a first son, whose destiny was included a warrior, protecting his family, protecting his land, protecting his village, protecting his. This is how I designed. You're the first son in the family. Your job is to carry the legacy of your dad, which he was a warrior himself. My grandfather was also a warrior. So when I came to this country, I was absolutely free. I look at white people in the eyes and tell them who I am. And then after getting a job, collecting a small vignette of harassment by the system, because the system, none of the system belongs to black people, including financial, media, everything. All systems does not belong to black people, to us. And therefore, what, for example, one time, there's a character named Derek. May he rest in peace. He's no longer alive, and I believe he died because of the stress that the system puts on you by getting fired so many times. And this guy used to tell me that the destiny of the black man belongs to white man. Every time he gets harassed, we will just go out to eat and we will just listen to each other. What did she tell you today? What did they tell you? Did they harass you? And he'll be like, man, you don't understand, man. You're still that African thing. You're not African. You're African American, and the destiny of a black man belongs to white people. And I could never accept that. But I also knew one thing: as a warrior, I knew war and I knew peace. I just didn't know racism. Racism didn't really belong to me. So it's hard for me to accept invisible war and psychological war that can damage me. But what I had forgotten is that invisible war can enter your body invisibly. It can occupy your heart. It can occupy your liver. It can seize your mind and refuse to go to sleep. You lose your life. You can't sleep anymore. You're thinking about your job. That the moment that Derek repeats over and over again, the moment that Derek cries in front of me and I'm judging him, and then after that I couldn't sleep, and then I saw tears in my eyes, and I've never seen my dad cry until the last breath. So in African culture, who makes you cry, you get even. My dad used to tell me that. I'm talking about the male.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who makes you cry? If you're a man, you get even. So in my mind, I'm like, if I cry, I let nobody sees to cry. I have to go behind the wall. So for me to see my tear, I knew that my life was going in the wrong direction, and I had to be brave. And so, as a writer, I was writing another book. My agent asked me, "What are you writing for America?" And I said, "America made me a black man." Metaphorically, the word black represents pain in America. It also represents hope, and I don't want to take that away, because 400 years black people struggle, this ongoing struggle. They still maintain. They still living. They're still struggling. They're still coming out, which is absolutely the best. I cannot even 30 years. I'm struggling already, but 400 years. I must say, you guys are the black people in America are ultimate warriors, because you're fighting an invisible war. So little by little, I get to know that I was becoming Derek, and Derek was me, and we are in this together. That's when I began to write.
As you became this black man, I mean, is there any moment that just crystallized? Did you have an epiphany, or was it more of a journey, and then you just one day said, "Oh no, America has made me a black man"?
Well, when I saw the tear in my eye, and I do not know who brought that tear out of me, because small vignettes, like all the time, little harassment. You can't. Why are you in the bathroom too long? You came late today. You get fired. Your job is not going anywhere. All these little things, adds up, and then you begin not to go to sleep. That's the first thing I couldn't figure it out. I just couldn't sleep, and I had a hard time going to the bathroom. Small little annoyances. That depression was coming, because frustration what comes after depression. And so and I was losing the people that I loved at the job, those who look like me, became fired. Some of them lose it, some just leave on their own. So all these painful experience that you're collecting, little by little, you get to know that you are an American, that Derek is you and you are him. But I think the tear was most significant indicator that the pain is not like the pain that I saw in Somalia, with the bullets and bombs and people getting shot during the war, because that's actually visible. You can see the enemy, but racism you cannot see. It just melts inside of you. It occupies your heart. So it wasn't. It was like gradual resistance, saying if I can survive war, I can survive anything. If I can survive war, because no, you can. It's hard to survive racism because it attacks you from every corner. So you become a constant struggler. Where in war, it you go to battle, either you win or you don't. It's just a battle. But this is ongoing battle
Mhm.
that you can pass that on to your kids, and your kids can pass on to their kids. And I'm a lover of Tupac, and Tupac talked about all those things, and the book actually honors Tupac.
Yes, it does. Well, we all still love Tupac. We always will.
Tupac was
Uh,
real.
as you say, that's right. What do you say? Keep your head up.
Yeah.
It's all right. I mean, and that's a very real thing. So what do you think is the tension between, or I think the first question I should ask is there a tension between the Black American community and the Somali American community?
Yes, there is indeed, and the tension comes from there's a bridge, and the bridge is an African. I think the book characterizes African-born American versus American-born Africans. That's the
Say
bridge.
that again. Say that one more time.
African-born Americans. Like I was born in Africa, but I'm at the
Mhm.
same time American. African Americans are American-born Africans, and we all came from that continent. And being black is God-given. It's not something that anybody can. I could never say I'm not black. I was born
Mhm.
black. I can't help it. Just like a white person cannot say they're black. They were born white. So the tension is the experiences. The tension is media. The tension is telling African American story. Someone else tells the African American story, and projects that, and someone else tells the African story, Somali story to someone else. Like nowadays, I mean, in Minnesota right here, like I saw a couple people there, like, oh, they made a reference about pirates. Not all Somalis are pirates, but because the president projects that, then like, or they tell me the daycare. I don't know anything about daycare because I was in the media, the Somalis, like few people stole money, and now all of a sudden they're projecting that to everyone. They've done that to African Americans before. It's not something new. So I think what happened is the African community and African American community, a book like this can bridge that because I'm both. I spent 35 years of my life here. I understand America. Majority of my friends are African Americans. Majority of the characters are African Americans. Music, culture, what America projects is the soft power of America is African Americans. When I was a young boy, I thought Muhammad Ali was Somali. I thought
Mhm.
Malcolm X was Somali. I thought a lot of the great musicians, Michael Jackson, I thought was Somali. So America projects globally the African American soft power. America would not be this huge known entity without the vehicle, without the Africans in this country, African Americans projecting that. So I think we should do a better job projecting ourselves of who we are and bridging the divide. The Somali community have exactly the same issue if you look at it as African Americans. When I say that, African Americans is actually a class system as well. It's not one group that actually believes everything the same. The same thing is happening in the Somali community. We're new to this country. We're also discovering that we're black now because of what's happening. But this book says exactly who they are. They are Africans. They are
Well,
black, and we just need to talk about more so people know who they really are. When the police stops you, they don't know whether you are African American or African. You're just black. That's why they stop you. And therefore, there should be a discussion. There should be a healing between the African communities in America. That's
what
who we are.
what what should be, what are some of the issues that should be in the discussion? What are some of the things that we should be talking about?
Well, identity is real. For example, when I'm in Somalia, I normally belong to a tribe, and that's how they look at you. Boy, yeah, what tribe are you? Because I'm in Somalia.
Mhm.
When I'm in Kenya, for example, they're like, "Oh, you're Somali, you're Somalian," because Kenyan are Kenyans. When I'm in America, I'm a black man in America because that's how the system looks at you. So I know the educated class understand that, but the rest of the community should know that identity is real. And if you're living in America and you're Somali or you're a Kenyan or Nigerian, then you are black. You were born black, and that's how the system is going to look at you. And so the I think in the book it says Derek and I were made brothers because of the pain we faced together
Mm.
as black men. That's what made us closer. And so this renewed racism in America is is bringing people, Africans, together. And so they need a vehicle, a literature, a space like this that can bridge that, so the community face together as one.
Is there, given what is happening in Minnesota, in Minneapolis now specifically, um, does the same tension exist between Black Americans? Oh, what did you say? Uh, Africans born in America. What did you say? What? Because I love the way you put it.
African born Americans and American born Africans.
American born Africans. Is it? I love that. Because it's true. Um, is there, is the tension still there? Has some of this kind of gone away? Or should I say, has some of it, I guess, been sublimated? I mean, has anything changed given all that's been going on?
I think it's now beginning to serve. It existed because of social media. Like young people expressing their feelings because certain relationships within the family of black people in America, it's exaggerated. But those of us who professionally, because you really become a black person, a black man, when you get a professional job, because
Mhm.
that's what the system looks at you as a threat. Black people who are educated, highly educated, go through more pain than those who are not educated, because they don't have any contact with the system. The educated black people in America understand that the pain is real and we are together in this American experience. But there are a few who does not, and sometimes a few is more.
But I think the blue collar, I think, because we have a caste, not we classism is real. There's no question about that.
Mm,
But I think when you say that America made me a black man, it puts you in a caste,
mm,
not just a class. I mean, because one of the things, I remember there was this book, Truly Tasteless Jokes. And they
wow.
had like one, two, and three. This came out like 40 years ago, which is crazy. And the jokes were truly tasteless. Many of them were very, very funny. And so they said, what is a black Nobel Prize winning physicist who's a millionaire?
Mm,
The N word.
mm,
Boom, ba I called my father and told him that. He said, "Oh, wow." he said, "Well, now there you go."
mm,
And there's that. He
mm,
was, he's one of the most famous people on earth. And this particular day, to show you how things work, he was staying at the Waldorf Astoria, which is, one of the most exclusive hotels in New York. And he was staying in the presidential towers, and they still have a doorman. I mean, excuse me, an elevator operator. That's the only way that you can get up there.
wow.
So he got on the elevator, and the elevator operator was surprised to see him, and he was like, "Oh," and so talked to him, engaged him, and he just pushed the button himself and just kept talking to him. And then this little white lady came on, and you could tell that she was wealthy. And that morning, he had spoken to a joint to the full body of the United Nations. He had given a major address, and he was picking up President Mugabe, Robert Mugabe, and his wife, and he was taking them to dinner at Bill and Camille Cosby's house. I don't think it can get any more elevated than that in America, right?
True.
As he was walking to his car, and the gentleman was standing outside, opening the door for him, the little white lady made her way and she said, "Oh, young man, I just want to thank you." And she put $1 in his hand.
Mm.
Now, this is just after he'd run for president the second time.
Mm. Wow.
That is what she saw.
Mm.
Right. So, no matter where you are, because everybody feels it. And in fact, it's interesting. It seems that, the more educated we are, the more removed we can get.
Mm.
Because, we can be surrounded by creature comforts. Now,
Mm.
everybody's having a hard time, I would
Mm.
say, because
True.
you get in these spaces and people don't think that you belong there. But, they don't think that you belong there in one of these great city jobs
Mm.
or county jobs.
Mm.
you know,
And
yeah.
yeah, and the tragedy is, for example, myself, uh, I wrote this book, and this book, even though it celebrates, I wanted to celebrate Black life, my children's children, and I wrote it for that 100 years span. That when a Black child reads that book, they feel proud. But
Mhm.
I also include America generally as metaphorically. I use the American highways, as the freedom that we want to attain. That it says, "Dear America, Black people love you. Reciprocate the love." Uh, the number of people that was very, very close to me who did not return my call is endless because of the book.
What do you mean?
Because I guess the African refugee kid is supposed to write another story, and some people even tell me in my face that this is not your book. You should not be writing this book. And when I tell them I am witness and this is what I have seen, and I compare it to war, what I have seen in the 35 years, war never made me cry. Never. I've seen half dead people. I've seen a person who was killed in front of me. The air was still twitching when we left. I've seen glory of war, tragic glory of war, but I never shed a tear over that. But racism, I saw my own tears. I also saw strong men, Black men, cry in front of me. That's very, very strong. And I had to write this book. But somehow you're supposed to write a book that says, "I'm a refugee. I was adopted by a white institution, a white person. They
Mhm.
fed me, they buy me shoes, they buy me a jacket. They took me to church and giving me, I don't, no disrespect. I'm just giving you like the
Yeah.
narrative that's expected of me.
They
And,
they civilized you.
yeah,
They
yeah,
were
yeah, I just don't like that. I hate that. I really hate that. But of course, I lost many, 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 many supporters when I was trying to establish myself as I was writing. Because before, I was writing another book called "Sun Carry My Blood," and only when I was asked, the amount of hurt and amount of like devastation, the amount of that I was killing too much. And when my agent says, "What are you writing for America?" Automatically, I was like, "America, I'm hearing a lot of pain." And it took me 30 days to write this book, literally 30 days to write a book. And so they push you on a certain group. You're just a refugee. You're not Black American. You're not Black in America. You just write that book. That is your story. This is not your story. Also, Black people are saying that, hey, you're not yet Black enough.
Mhm.
You're Somali. You're African. You're not one of us. But I told the story of us, you, because the system is the same. The system looks at you exactly the same. It does not care. And a lot of the people who actually celebrate my book are African Americans. A lot of the people who will buy the book and give it to their sons are African Americans, to be honest.
Why do you
Um,
think that? I mean, how has the Somali community received the book?
Somali is an oral society.
Yeah. And
Orally,
we are still also,
yeah.
you
I
know.
mean, I mean, the young people who got
But that's
educated here,
Africans, right? Africans
yeah,
are
Africans,
oral
oral
people.
society. Like I got all this, everything I'm carrying from my dad. I got it from poetic saying,
Mhm.
that like the interpretation of life and death. They tell you through poetry, the interpretation of, like, there's a poetry of war, poetry of peace, poetry of marriage, poetry of love, poetry of life, legacy. Words are more meaningful than actually death. You're supposed to obey the words more than danger. So all these things that I carry from my father or my mom is orally. Nothing is written down. So, but the book is celebrated by Somalis. Almost everyone that reads it, they keep it. Oh, every day I get a message from Minneapolis here. The young people who are educated, who are Americans. They are so 60% or 50%. There's a lot of them who are American-born Africans now. Unlike my generation, we were African-born Americans. So these people are now have small access to Africa, but they really are Americans. They listen to Kendrick Lamar or other rapper of their generation. So they welcome it. The book is celebrated by Africans in general. I saw it in Nairobi at the bookstore, and I was very proud African to see my book in one of the biggest bookstore. 20 copies were there. When I told him I wrote the book, the guy was impressed.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing better than that for a writer, to see my book at the bookstores.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you are talking about this issue, I mean, because I can see in some of the comments, there's still a tension.
Yeah.
And, that some are saying that the Somali community identifies more with Arabs than with and sub-Saharan African, just so that that is a European characterization. That's not, that's me. And mind you, colorism and all those things, that we're all impacted by that, right, Boya? But so what about the internals of the Somali community? Do you identify? Do you even have to identify as Blacks when you're in Somalia, when you're on the African continent?
No, there's no such thing as Black in Africa. And
Okay.
because majority of people are Black people. Like there's no colorism, there's tribes. However, the reason why Somalis are sort of closer to Arabs, because Somalis are 99.999% Muslims. Even the African Americans who are Muslims identify themselves as closer to the Arabs and the Somali Muslims. The most famous here is our Attorney General. Very, very integrated.
Keith Ellison.
Keith Ellison and Somalis are very, very close. They call him brother everywhere he goes. He's like one of them. As because of the religion of Islam. That's what it is. It's not because of the color of the skin. And the Somali person seeing an African American, I mean, there's no way that even culturally that you will not protect or help a brother or a sister. It's just an African culture. So a lot of these social media is exaggerating this, but I've never seen an African American who's been mean to me. I've never seen one. I mean, there are some people who get used by the system, which is fine, because they try to tell me that I'm not Black. My last boss told me, son, you're not Black. Stay away from all these things that you're doing, because I used to push Black people, whatever they're entitled to in my previous position. Some of the things that they're entitled to, they would get denied, and I would reverse it. And they just called me into the office and said, son, you're not African American, you're not Black. Well, if I'm weak-minded, of course I will listen to that, but I'm not. So if some people get used because of incentives, and historically, I think Malcolm did it well in his book. Incentives are real. It doesn't mean it represents all Somalis. Somalis are brother to you, just like you're brother to us, sister to us.
But didn't Malcolm X also, because one of the things that you have to love about Brother Malcolm is that he continued to evolve. Oh my goodness.
The book honors Malcolm, and I'm happy about that.
But you honor the Black American experience, because I see that you took from all of these people, and because we have yearned for Africa, we've yearned for that connection, because when he really moved into Orthodox Islam, he and when he made the Hajj, his understanding of Africa and the world, you saw that turn as well. He was no less black,
mm,
but he said in Islam, we don't do this white racism.
mm,
They don't do that, and that was because he had not been there before. He That was stunning to him.
mm,
He said, "Wait a minute, this they they're a little bit different. They
mm.
look at this differently. Help me to understand. Help me to understand that because I'm seeing people who are saying that um, that no, you relate more to the Arab community, and I'm like, you explained that. It's like, no, this is Islam, but help me to understand. I mean, just really dig down in that. Um, dig down on that because I think that because there's some myths here, in the last 10 minutes or so that we have here that I want to help dispel.
Mm. Well, the Malcolm was evolving, like you said it.
Hmm.
He's incredibly intelligent, and it now represents and every struggle in the world Malcolm's face is there. It's also good for America because it tells American story. He was an American, an honest American that wanted to everyone to have reciprocation. They keeping hope alive, like your father used to say, bridging the divide, and and having that equilibrium of peace and hope between people. Uh, the what is real is every day you get to learn something. Immigrants, when they come here, they are carrying their own perception. Well, that every single day they get to live in this country, they pick small little vignette, small story that will teach them, that will destroy the perception that they carry about themselves. And every day they get to stay here, they get to learn. Now they might be learning speed learning now because of
Hmm.
the president and what he's saying.
Hmm.
And the policies that is being projected right now is making a reality. What the perception, something that they knew but they were trying to resist, now is upfront. Everyone can see that what African Americans have endured, everyone is going to endure now.
Mm.
It is no longer only facing one community, but now everyone who's shaded, brown and black skin, will will feel the pain, and they are feeling the pain. Um, it's tragic, but it's also in a way that the book has now bigger. A lot of people who argue with me that racism is why are the people complaining? Why do black people complain? Well, now you don't have to. I don't have to answer that question anymore.
Hmm.
Well, like Malcolm, I think we are evolving. Immigrants are evolving, and the more they get to stay in this country, the more they get to learn. The more they get to, they close that bridge that divide the community.
There were there was a group of Somali Americans who endorsed President Trump, just as there was a group of Black American men who endorsed Trump. He got almost about 20% of the Black male vote. You also, before you start,
There's always going to
hold that.
be, yeah.
But what was it about him that was attractive to some elements of the Somali American community? And I'm asking that because he is someone who called, the global South, countries in the global South, S-hole nations. You know, he's been very, very strategic in staying away from Black Americans.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
um, the Africans were born here.
mm,
Yeah, he's gone after the Black immigrant
mm,
population. I mean, in any opportunity that he's had.
mm.
So help me here.
Well, Brother Malcolm, once again, when I read his book, I think it was like to categorize black people as two. And so it was the field, and I don't want to say the word,
Hmm.
and house. Money is real. They came to the Somali community and they look for the weakest individual within the community of Somalis, and they say, okay, we're gonna provide you money, and you're unemployed. we'll put you on TV. And so if you can disparage, say whatever you want, and they'll incentivize it. But the reality is they are incredibly small number, incredibly small number. And they also went to the same way that he went to the churches. Uh, those people who were against some of the things that the Democratic Party is pushing, like LGBT, this and that. Uh, he lied to them. He's like, okay, well, we're gonna polish this. We're on you. He used religion, money, and he grabbed few people. But statistically speaking, majority of Somalis voted for Democratic Party. They had to, because this guy already has a resume. He was not a newcomer. He was already a president. Anyone who can read, anyone who can think, knew what Donald Trump was coming with. Everyone knew that. But once again, money talks, incentives talks, and like two brothers are not the same. Malcolm and his brothers were not the same. Like if I can think about it, I used to be obsessed with Malcolm's.
Well, no, but why? What attracted you to Malcolm?
Well, may she rest in peace, Miss Parker, my first African American. I always call them the real teacher of America. Fresh off the boat, she gave me Malcolm's book. She also gave me small little books, that the achievement of African American, small books that she used to give to Black people. And she used to tell me, boy, I know you just came from Africa. You're no longer African. You're an African American. They're going to treat you the same way they treat me here. And she used to take her time and tell me this story again and again. But it's easy for you to go to the movie and watch a movie and even shed tears. It's harder for someone the actual character. It's harder to be the actual character. If it's a war movie, it's incredibly difficult to be the actual individual who goes through that war. It's hard to mimic and like enjoy and cry. There was no way I was going to know America and what America has store for me by just reading a book. But after I read the book she gave me, it just stays with me. And every time I go through pain, I had toolbox that Miss Parker put those toolbox inside my mind. It says, boy, they're gonna treat you the same way. You're not special. Just because they're treating you better, you're not special. And so every story that I go through, that all Black people go through in America, I get to remember Miss Parker. And the only name that actually didn't change in the book is Miss Parker. May she rest in peace. And that's how I get into those literature, African American literature, because she used to feed my mind, and everything she told me was real. The tragic. I mean, even if I doubted at the time, because I wanted to know America myself without someone telling me. But after I went through the actual living experience in America, everything she told me and everything Malcolm says, and everything like I read in other literature became a reality. And therefore, I honor all my first teachers of America, the real teachers.
When we, as we're moving through this moment, we just saw Ilhan Omar attacked, and what was striking was to see her physically respond. And she said, "You know what? I've been through war, so you are not going to roll up on me." And I have to tell you, every Black woman in America could relate to that. You know, if we're not going to physically get you, we'll get you with the tongue. life and death is right here.
Yeah.
And the power of life and death is in that tongue. And how do we, I mean, when she was attacked, I mean, did the Black American community, did they say, oh my goodness, what are they doing to our sister? I mean, is there a solidarity that is there, or is there one that is building?
There is solidarity. A lot of the people who are celebrating her warrior spirit are Black people. Black people celebrate her because she has that warrior spirit. And I know why she's doing that because culturally, that's where she came from. She's one of those African-born Americans. She wasn't born in this country. And she came here as a pre-teenager, same way I
Mhm.
did. So we still get to remember our culture back home, which is the one who attacks you, you get
Mhm.
even if it means that you lose your own body. It's just the way it is. That's how you're trained as a
Mhm.
child. So you get to keep it. So that reaction that she did, Somali life, that's like almost expected. But also the humans who uh, are are there. A lot of my friends who are calling me African Americans are very proud of her fighting spirit.
Mhm.
But we also need a language of also diplomacy. I think African American, there's enormous knowledge because the story of African American, it was not just uh, the struggle physically, but also mental struggle. It's also artistic struggle,
Mhm.
and that's something that we should understand. That it's not just a physical struggle. There's also many ways to struggle. The non-violence struggle,
Mhm.
protesting. I just did the first protest here, even though it's so cold. I walked all the way last
Mhm.
Friday, and I just wanted to, like, even though it's so cold, I wanted to go through that. I want my
Why?
body to remember it. You know,
Why? Why was that
because
important?
as a writer, for one, I'm doing it for everyone, including all the people that have been there for me, including Malcolm, including Tupac, including
Mhm.
everyone, including all of us. For two, I just wanted to my body to remember the struggle because when you it was so cold that it was unbearable for me to walk there. But I did it. So maybe perhaps if I do decide I wanted my body to spit, like I wanted my body to carry that pain and that
Mhm.
cry and that chanting and that hope, you know, I, I just want my body to remember it. And I think because many people before us did it, and young people must understand this is their time to struggle. Because in America, what I know is if you don't fight for what's yours, you're not going to get it. That's the story of Black people in America. From the
Did you?
get-go, Black people struggle.
So when you got here, is that you didn't see that
I didn't
before?
see that because all I wanted to do is get a degree, get a good job, buy a house, and
Mhm.
like all the movies they project about to Africa, like American Dream.
Mhm.
I just wanted to be like that. So I earned a degree, but I realized that the more a Black person, the more degrees you gather, the more pain you confront. It's just a fact.
Yeah, because you keep thinking that you're going to get out of it, but you absolutely do not. You
That's
know?
exactly what I thought. Get a degree, they're
Mhm.
gonna leave me alone and get a good job. Get another degree, get another degree. I realized that you cannot do that.
Did
My
you know?
editor is Harvard graduate, and he
Uh-huh.
tells me, like I'm like, you were teaching a big school.
Yeah.
Why did you leave? And he's like, honor or peace, pain or peace. The more I worked in that industry, the more they mess with me, the more my mind is gonna go nuts. Or I can just earn my living other ways and have very little contact with America. I can understand that.
Mhm.
I can. That's why a lot of Somalis drive taxi. That's why a lot of Somalis do Uber. That's why a lot of Somalis do truck driving because they try. Once you see the system and how painful it is, you disengage and find other ways. That's why a lot of Somalis are very good in terms of starting businesses in Minnesota
Mhm.
because they're trying to stay away from the system. I get it.
And Black Americans do that.
Black
You know,
Americans as well. Yeah, that's
because
exactly right.
because because that's how we've been able to make our money. Black women, we absolutely are entrepreneurs because that is how you make your money. You don't make it in the system, so to speak. You have to have your own. So
But I think Black people have a lot to teach immigrants something. I think Black
yeah.
people, they don't only start businesses and stay independent, get highly educated, but they also dance with the system,
Hmm.
struggle
And
with the system, make the system at least try, attempt to work for everyone.
hmm
They bring the equilibrium. Black Africans, Black Americans bring that equilibrium that's needed for the system to at least attempt it to correct. Because all we're looking for is merit-based system.
we're trying to get there, but
I'm
until we get.
educated, give me a chance kind of thing. So I think we have a lot to teach each other. I have a
Mhm.
lot to teach my African brothers and sisters who are born in this country, And of course, I learned a lot. Evidence, America made me a black man.
What do you want us to know before you go? This is Boya Farah. He has been written this book, America Made Me a Black Man. You've got to read it. You've got to read it. Everyone, I urge you to get it. And I'm going to have you come back here because I think this is a conversation that we need to have. Your story is such an important one. I told my father today that I was going to interview you, and he was very excited.
Mm, thank you.
Well,
Thank
because
you.
he has been fighting to bring the diaspora together,
Yes.
and that has been part of his work for more than 50 years. That my first overseas trip when I was 7 was not to Europe, it was
Mm.
to Africa.
Wow.
You know,
Beautiful.
it was to Ghana, it was to Nigeria.
Beautiful.
And so, and our parents put that emphasis,
It's nice.
on going to Africa, on going to the global south, on going to where we are,
Mm.
you know. So what do you want people to know before you go?
I was just in Nairobi, and almost every I could differentiate who's African American, who's not.
How?
Style wise, the swagger is different. I was like,
Mhm.
"You're American, yeah? I'm from Campton, California. I'm from
Mhm.
New York." I mean, and instantly we connect. Africa celebrates African Americans. Absolutely no doubt about that. Africa is a continent that has enormous resources, and that's home for all of us. In this struggle that we face, we're in together, and Africans are very diverse. It's not a there's no singular story. It's different countries, different tribes, different nations. But in America, we all face the same struggle, and that struggle, we keep hope always, because life without hope is not a life. So even as you struggle and go through pain, you keep hope. During the war, I kept hope. During refugee camp, I kept hope. During my 30 years of going, becoming a black man in America,
Mhm.
metaphorically, the pain that we go through against from the system, I kept hope. So keep hope alive, as Jesse Jackson, you say that's actually real. And because we chant hope during the war. So continue to chant and remember we're in this together. And I'm proud of all of you. I appreciate you welcoming me as well. Everything you said is so beautiful. I feel like I should go write. Thank you so much.
Well, I tell you what, you keep hope alive. And as Reverend Jackson, as my dad says, I am somebody. You are somebody.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that you're reminding us of that, of
Thank
our
you.
somebodyness and of the light of hope. If
Kings
you
and
just
queens.
have a little bit of hope,
Yeah.
you can make it.
Yes.
You can make it.
My,
Um,
yes. My mother raised 8 of us.
oh, wow.
My mother ate, I mean, had my father died in 1989,
Hmm.
and she came to this country. I'm the oldest. And my mom used to like take care of, black women take a whip and says, you cannot go to prison,
Hmm.
not get in trouble, because if you do, there's 5 younger ones that's after me. And she
Hmm.
used to, when I told her that I was going through a lot of pain in America and I'm going to write a book, she said, make sure you say good things about America. They allowed us to come when we had no hope. My mother, all the struggle that she went through, she kept hope, not knowing she's going to feed how she's going to feed us. And now, majority of all of us are okay. And, so hope is real. It doesn't matter
Hmm.
what life brings you. It does not matter what life brings you. You never, ever, ever let nobody take your hope. That's,
Boya Farah,
yeah.
you've got to get the book, America Made Me a Black Man. I think Robert and Solomon Harris and all of you read the book because I think that we need to give people the space to evolve. I think we need to we have to see where you were, and we need to understand how you got to here.
Mm,
It's important. We're all on a journey.
mm.
I don't think if you're the same person you were last year or 10 years before, then you haven't grown.
True.
So
Wisdom.
this is our brother beloved. He's also our son,
Mm,
and we need to listen to him. He had to come to America and understand that he is a black man, because in America, we've racialized everything. This is not the issue every place else. What is the issue is white supremacy and our self-hatred. Now that is an issue and that's another story. That's another show, another day. But the black issue, the blackness, is not something that everybody relates to. The enslaved experience is not something that everybody knows and relates to. And we need to give people space for that. But we also need to honor that experience ourselves, so that when people come here, we're not ashamed of slavery. We look at it as something over which we have triumphed.
Beautiful.
No Jewish person is ashamed of the Holocaust. They call themselves survivors. They're not victims. They're victors.
That is so true.
We're not victims. We're victors.
Mm.
And we keep winning every day.
Mm.
Get the book. America Made Me a Black Man. Boya Farah, you're home here on the show. Just know that.
Thank you so much.
May
Thank
God
you.
bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Everybody coming up. Let's talk about voter protections. There is a peacekeepers initiative from the League of Women Voters. As the president talks about the GOP taking over the voting in 15 places in 15 states, not everywhere, but he wants to nationalize voting where he actually lost the vote. What does that mean? What does that mean? How will your vote be protected? You're about to vote in a couple of weeks in Minneapolis. And in Minneapolis, Minnesota has the highest rate of voter participation in the country. And they have the most integrous system. What will happen now that ICE is all over the place? We need to talk about that. Next hour of the Santita Jackson Show, everybody join me. Get the book, America Made Me a Black Man. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota.